have a look at these images and decide, do you think they show the impacts of an earthquake in a HIC, so a high-income country, a wealthy country, or do you think they show the impacts of an earthquake in a low-income country? So think back to what we did last lesson. Think about what the impacts of an earthquake actually are, what problems they create, and then decide, are they HICs, are they LICs, and why. If you can describe how and explain why the effects of an earthquake differ in countries at different stages of development. So why they are different in HICs to LICs. And take 2 minutes on this, please. So that first one, that shows the impacts in a LIC. Second one, we have a HIC, another HIC, another LIC, another LIC. We have a HIC, that's actually Barack Obama stood in the picture there, former president of the USA. We have a LIC and we have a HIC. So the main reason there are differences between them is the impacts tend to be worse in LICs and the response tends to be better in HICs. And we'll go through today's lesson looking at some tectonic hazard case studies and understanding the how and the why, I suppose. So we've got to describe the impacts of two contrasting tectonic hazard events, explain why those effects varied in severity, so why they were worse in one location than the other, suggest the impact that response had on the severity of those effects, and then assess the extent to which development affects the impacts of tectonic hazards. So does being a HIC mean that you don't suffer as much? That's what we need to decide. So in terms of where we are looking at our Nepal and our Italy earthquake case studies within the tectonic hazards bubble. The first one we're going to look at is the Nepal earthquake, which was called the Gorkha earthquake. So Nepal is a country in Asia. It's here, sandwiched between India and China, and it's probably most well known because it has the Himalayan mountains between it. So India is moving northwards, crashing into China. It's a collision boundary where plates move together. As a result, the Himalayas have been pushed upwards. They are fold mountains created at that collision boundary. So you can either draw your own template or you can print off the one I've got and show my homework, but you're basically going to fill in some key information. You can describe the location of the earthquake, including the plate margins and the plate names. So there's a quick video there that you can watch to help you. The template you can use looks like this. So this is the Nepal template. You need to fill in the key information and then record primary effects, secondary effects, immediate responses, long-term responses. The second one we're going to look at is an earthquake that occurred in Italy in 2009 called the L'Aquila earthquake because of the region it occurred in. So you can see here it is in the centre of Italy. And Italy also lies along a destructive margin, so where two plates are moving together. You can see it's just off here, and this map here shows you where the shaking was the worst. So you're going to do the same process. You're going to fill in this template, you print it, you can draw your own for the Italy earthquake. So key facts in the middle, primary effects, secondary effects, immediate responses, long-term responses. So the information you need, you can use the videos, which I'll put links for and show my homework, or you could use these bits of information, which I will also put and show my homework. And you should spend about half an hour, so 30 minutes, going through and filling in those two templates. If you get it done within the half an hour time, then I suggest you have a go at the challenge. So you say, why was the damage and death toll higher in poorer countries? And why can the earthquake risk be greatly reduced in wealthier countries, using what you've learned from here? So in case you didn't know, Nepal is the LIC, the low income country. Italy is the HIC, the high income country. So half an hour on that, please. So we'll go through the answers for, firstly, Italy, our HIC. So 308 people were killed, 1,500 people were injured, 67,500 were made homeless, and you may have some other effects written within there. It occurred on the 6th of April 2009 at 1:32 a.m. in the morning. It had a magnitude of 6.3 on the Richter scale. The location was in the Abruzzo region in central Italy. The plates involved were the Eurasian and African. This is a destructive plate margin because the plates are moving together. the collision causes mountain building. And the name of the mountain range that run through central Italy is called the Apennine Mountains. Now let's look at Nepal. So Nepal killed 8,841. 16,800 were made were injured, 1 million plus were made homeless. It occurred on the 28th of April 2015 at 6:11 a.m. in the morning. The magnitude was 7.8, so quite similar to Italy, just a little bit stronger. It occurred in the mountainous region of Nepal, in the Himalayas. The two plates involved are the Indian and the Eurasian. This is a destructive margin because the plates are moving together. Because they are both continental plates, the collision causes mountain building. And the name of the mountain range it creates is the Himalayas, where Mount Everest can be found. So here we have some key facts. I just want you to spend a minute thinking, what do these numbers represent? And what is the link between them all? So 7.8, that was the size of the earthquake on the Richter scale, the earthquake that occurred in Nepal. 50, that is the number of buildings that were left standing near the epicenter. Every other building was destroyed. 15 kilometers, that was how deep the earthquake was in Nepal. 1.5 million, that's the number of people that were made homeless because of the earthquake. And 10 billion is the estimated rebuilding cost of the Nepal earthquake. So what is the link between them all? Well, they all occurred in Nepal. So last thing we're going to do is we're going to have a go at an exam question so that we can hit that challenge outcome and start to consider the impact that development, so whether they're a hick or a lick, the impact that has on the impacts of the hazard. So we used this resource last lesson when some of you were in school, some of you would have done it online. So showing the Sichuan earthquake. So China, we could class it as a lick for these purposes. You've got to use figure 2, so use the information here that talks about the impacts of that Sichuan earthquake and your own knowledge. That means use what you've learned, bring in what you've learned from those case studies, suggest why the effects of a tectonic hazard vary between areas of contrasting levels of wealth. Basically means why are the effects, the impacts of an earthquake different in licks and hicks. I'd like you to follow the process of make a point, develop it, use your triggers, this means that leading to as a result, and then link it back. So you go back to the question and you actually answer it in that part. So you suggest why those effects are different. You will need to include specific information from this resource. You will also need to include specific information from the examples that we've studied. So because it's contrasting levels of wealth, I suggest you mention this one, which is China, and then you can bring in some information on Italy as well to show that we have a lick and we have a hick. So I'd like you to type this as a comment on Show My Homework. It's a 6-mark question, which means you should take 6 minutes. So please write it as a comment on Show My Homework. I will be commenting on these things, so your ability to include our case studies using data, detail and dates, the ability to explain using your triggers, this means that leading to, therefore, as a result, because. AO3 figure triggers, so referring to the image, and your final bit, your link, it's about making that judgment. So making sure that you suggest why the impacts are different between areas of contrasting levels of wealth. So type that and Show My Homework, please. I'll mark them, and then at the start of our next lesson, we will go through and you can do some improvement based on a model answer that I'm going to give you.